G'day guys, Luke here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video guys, we are here at Camo Reptiles once again doing another film shoot. Today we're going to talk about heating. As we are coming into winter here in Australia, I thought it would be a great time to talk about the heating options that are on the market. UVB we'll cover off in the next video guys, so stay tuned for that, as that's a different whole thing yet again. Before I touch the bulbs in the heat pad in front of me here regarding the heat, the most important thing about having any heat source is having a thermostat. Never get it confused with a thermometer. A thermometer only reads your temperature. Your thermostats control your heat. Without that, you've got a cookie lizard. So I've got two thermostats in front of me here I want to talk about. One's very simple, very easy. I reckon a 2-year-old can work it out. One's a bit more complicated, but I find it simple as well. Now, this one here, like I said, we're not sponsored. This is called a simple stat. This one here only has a 1 degree variant. So for example, if we were to set it at 30 degrees Celsius, it will switch off at 31 degrees Celsius, turns back on at 29.9 degrees Celsius. Now there is a Celsius and Fahrenheit option on this thermostat, so it is universal. This is something I would personally recommend, is something this style of thermostat. There's similar ones on the market depending on what brand it is. Obviously your heat will plug into this. This is your thermometer, which will go inside your enclosure about halfway down on your heated side. So let's say it's a 60 centimeter tall enclosure. You want to have that 30 centimeters down and probably about 1 to 2 inches away from your heat light. And obviously you'll plug into your main power source. Your thermostat guys always stay on constantly. Depending on what bulb you're also running, depends on what thermostat you want to run. Majority of your bulbs you can run on this. There's a special bulb that has to be run on the other thermostat, which we'll get to in a moment. Like I said, if you guys want me to explain more in depth regarding to this in the comments, feel free to ask, but plane. Apologies guys about the interruptions, we guys still got a plane going around. So I'll try my best to over talk the plane, hopefully this microphone is helping. This is the other thermostat where I work with here. So this one you can actually have at a different setting. Unlike the one I just showed you there, that's only a 1 degree variant. You can set this one at several degree variants. So if I had this at home, I could set it at, let's say, 28 degrees to turn on, and then switch off at 32. So I can kind of go up to 33, switch off, cool down to about 28, then switch back on, heat it back up, switch back off. Now, I'll let you know what bulb is best recommended for this one, because it actually has a bad habit of breaking the other thermostat since it's pretty powerful. The ones I don't like personally are the dual thermostats, where you have your UV timer and your thermostat in the one. I find them very complicated and very painful to set up. I think the simple thermostats are the way to go personally, but if you are a very smart person or you want the challenge, you can always go for the dual ones. But like I said, when it comes to the UVB, I'll explain more in the next video. You don't really need the dual one, all you need is just a timer to run the UV light. Thermostats, however, usually stay on 24/7. Next up, we've got to cover off the heat pads. Now, heat pads only do the surface temperature, they don't do the ambient temperature to your enclosures. I've got one right here to show you guys. So on the market, there's usually 3 sizes. So we've got the 5 watt, which are usually half this size. This is a 7 watt, and then the 14 watt, which is pretty much double that one. Like I mentioned, they only do the surface temperature. They're great for or mostly snakes, skinks, and geckos. Don't really do dragons and goannas very well. Frogs you can use as well. Turtles, no point using on a turtle. But those are your heat pads. Very easy, very cost efficient when it goes to electricity. Like I said, they only range from 5 to 14 watts. There are other ones or bigger ones on the market, but I don't really see them as often. I tend to stay away from heat rocks because they actually sometimes malfunction. They can actually cause burns to the animal. But now onto the fun part, which is the actual bulbs. And there's, I think, 7 in front of me. 6 main ones, and then there's 2 different type ones, I should mention. The most common ones that I see on the market are your bulbs. So the reason why I'm looking down is I just want to make sure I'll grab the right ones. So these are your 3 main bulbs you see on the market. So you got your clear, which are good for your only day running animals. So this is only on during on the day hours, because if you leave this on during the night time, your animal will your animal will stay up. So this is only for day purposes. Or if you're in a warmer climate, you can get away just using these. I personally used to use either the purple or red. So these ones, obviously, respective colours. These are great for more of your nighttime running species. This one is okay. These bulbs here don't keep your animals up. But in the past, when I had these running in my room, these red ones actually kept me up at night time. So I've always went for the purple. The only downside to the bulbs, the lifespan is unknown most of the time. You might get one of these that could last 5 minutes. The other one could last a year. That's the luck of a draw. I used to use white lights back in the day, but not anymore, because since I'm living in Sydney and always being cold, some of my animals do need heating on during the night time, so that's why I've gone over to another type of heating. We'll get to the other types in a second, but there's another one in front of me I want to mention. This bulb here looks very similar to this one. So this one here is just heating alone. This one's a bit more special. This one does both heat and UV. Unlike this guy here, which can blow at any time, ideally these last about a year. So this bulb here is both heat and UV in one. They're mostly great for obviously your just daytime running light. And this one you have to kind of plug it into this thermostat here, or a thermostat with different degree variants. Because if you use the 1 degree variant, either the bulb usually breaks or the thermostat breaks. I've heard both sides happening. So these are great for mostly your goannas. Usually goannas and turtles is what we use it here for. Not so much on our bearded dragons, blue tongues and pythons. We usually use another heat source that we get to in a moment. I thought I'd throw that up. There is a heat and UV light option out there. However, it's better off having just the heat and UV separately for most of the animals. Next one we'll cover up is kind of a newer one on the market. These are called the infrared projectors. Now, in design, they should last about 3 or more years. That's what I've been told personally. Don't kill the messenger. These guys have pretty much an oven element in design. So if you're looking at your oven at home, you see the element inside, very similar to that. I didn't mind these personally, as when these are on, I can actually see when they're working, because these things get quite hot and I can actually see the glow coming out of it, like I said, in the oven. I have heard mixed reviews from people. Some people love them, some people don't like them. I'm kind of on the fence regarding to using these, as I'm thinking of switching back over to what my kind of old favourite in the past. So yeah, these are just another one of these out there, infrared projectors. You can leave these on 24/7, no drama. Same with your red and your purple heat lights. You can leave them on 24/7 with your thermostat. It's just any of your white lights, guys, just turn off at night time. And depending on where your animal is from, and what environment your animal is from, and where you live. So, for example, here in Sydney for bearded dragons, we leave our heating on 24/7 all the time to keep them happy and healthy. If I were to live in Central Australia or even Darwin, where it's a bit more warmer on average, well, I'll be honest, Middle Australia gets cold at night time, so let's say Darwin, I wouldn't have to worry about running a night light. It's just here in Sydney when it's cooler, and they do require that because they're not really used to the cold temperatures. Last but not least is kind of my personal favourite. We've got our ceramics. Now these guys don't produce any light whatsoever. However, they've got a lifespan of 10 plus years, I've heard. The reason why there's 2 different styles, I'll get to that in a minute. First of all, this is an old school one where it just says generic black. Now these things get red hot. Just on the surface of these can get up to 90 to 100 degrees Celsius, and they pump out heat night and tomorrow. So that's why thermostats are very important, because these can actually, any of these heating options in front of me can overheat your lizard. There's the only downside to it, you never know when they're on. So if you accidentally touch this, you are going to burn yourself. The new school way, which I don't mind actually, or I find it quite clever. See how this one's yellow? When they're cold, they're yellow. But once they build up a bit of temperature, these go into like a pinkish orangey colour, indicate when they're working. So that's kind of what I'm starting to go over towards now is these. That way, 1, I can see them in the enclosure, so I don't accidentally bump them and burn myself. And 2, I know when they're on or off. One thing I will quickly mention about the bulbs, guys, they do come in different wattages, usually from 35, 50, 60, 75, 100, and 150 watts. So depending on what size of the enclosure, it depends on what size or what wattage you need. Usually a smaller enclosure getting away with low wattage heat lights. The bigger enclosure is the more wattage you need to pump and maintain your temperature in the enclosure. However, we're going to more tips and tricks after this, guys, regarding how to keep heat in your enclosure. If you guys have any questions regarding about these bulbs in the comments down below, let me know. I'm happy to answer. Hopefully I did okay explaining these as a whole. Other than that, let's check out some tips and tricks on how to keep your heat in your enclosures. Okay guys, so a couple of tips and tricks regarding to keeping heating with your enclosures. Doesn't matter if it's glass or wooden. Now heat will always rise, so to kind of maintain that heat, what we do with our mesh enclosures, so I'm about to show you with these guys down here, we kind of cover up the top. With any of our wooden enclosures here, what we do is we get a good old fashioned blanket and we just cover the glass, like so. almost falling off. That's always the fun part. So obviously the blanket has the same effect like us. When we're cold, we put a thicker blanket over ourselves to trap heat in the heat better. So that's going to help with keeping electricity down, so the thermostats don't come on and off constantly. Now, if you are worried about having a blanket over the enclosures, especially with your light fittings and your heating, you can always get a good old-fashioned fireproof blanket. Obviously, being fireproof, you're not going to have a fire. And what you do is effectively the same thing. You cover your whole enclosure, and it'll keep your enclosure nice and insulated. Keeps the warmth, keeps the electricity bill down a bit, and the animal is happy and healthy. So there's a couple of tricks there, guys, and as well to talk about the heating for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.